Half 2021. Yes, welcome to London and to the start line of the Big Half Marathon. It's been a long time since we saw a mass participation event, and we got some big names here, and one of those is with our very own Amy Fuller.
Yes, good morning everyone. This year's event campaign is We Run As One, and this year's event certainly is for everyone. From the serious to the not so serious, we've got elite runners, community runners, and no event is ever complete without a few famous faces. I'm talking Olympians, celebrities, and I'm standing here with double Olympic gold medalist James Cracknell. How are you feeling this morning?
This morning, yeah, not too bad. Better than I was a few days ago.
Tell us what you've been up to. It was your stag last weekend. Very casually, you're running a half today. And what's next weekend?
Next weekend's the wedding. So I went to get married on Friday and then had stag last weekend. And a month ago, I thought it would fit in really nicely. And then last weekend was an endurance test of a different kind.
How's the body feeling today?
I thought I'd do some speed work on Thursday and Friday, and it wasn't as fast as I'd hoped. So I'm hoping the fact that I can recognise the course and it's half the distance of the marathon might spur me on.
Most definitely. What time are you going for?
I'm going to go off at hour and a half pace.
Woo,
and then
that's punchy.
And then I'll either hang on and blow up or kick on.
Nice.
Yeah, but I don't think kicking on, that's in my happy place. I'll go, I can do fast on this, but I think start off and then we'll see.
I say you kick on. You've definitely got experience with kicking on with your former Olympic career. What charity are you running for today?
I'm Vice President of Headway, the Brain Injury Association. I suffered a nasty cycling accident 10 years ago, and it's an unseen injury. I think that it's something that people don't understand, and it's especially important for families as well to be supported, to know what's happened to their loved ones.
Awesome. Well, we are wishing you all the very best of luck out there. Foot to the floor and good luck, and I hope you don't blow up.
That's going to happen somewhere. I hope it's not too far from the end.
Have a good one.
Yes, this is a treat. We're joined by another Olympian, Christina Horrigy. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, really good. See, 13.1 miles is kind of different to 400 meters. It's a big difference. But you're not running today, no? What's happened injury-wise?
So I was intending to run, but I've got a small back problem, which has put me out for a couple of weeks. So I've not been able to do the training. I would have liked to sustain me 13 miles.
I feel like you're someone who says I have a small back problem, and to us we literally be like, I cannot walk. But you've done the smart thing and so, yeah.
But it's fine. I'm here to support the Hope Collective, which I'll do anyway.
I was going to say, so that was why you was doing the run in the first place as well. So talk to me about the Hope.
So I would have run for the Hope Collective, which is a collection of organisations and charities.
Nice.
One of which is the Spirit of London, which I'm a patron for. And I think it's just really to raise awareness for poverty and inequality, and really try to create a feeling of hope in London to solve the problems that we are facing right now.
Oh, that's amazing. And I feel like the Big Half, and the reason why you run it as well, do you feel like the Big Half especially makes people think about keeping active, keeping fit, and serving our community as well?
Of course, it's important that, you have to train for this. It's not something you just waltz in and run. So you have to get out and run, and it's a good opportunity to find buddies to run with, get a training program, go to the gym, all those things that you need to do to prepare for this. But also just milling around here. I've been talking to different athletes who are preparing. Everyone comes from different walks of life. And then while you're running, you can raise money for something that's important to you. So it's a win-win on all sides, I think.
No, it's amazing. And we've got the elite runners as well, and I'm going to say normal runners, but maybe, I don't know what the right word is, but the non-elite runners.
Just the non-elite
have you got any
runners.
advice for them today to get them through it?
The thing is, I was telling everyone just to enjoy it, but I don't know how you can enjoy
13 miles,
something that's going to hurt very, very much. But I'm actually gutted I'm missing it today, because I've heard it's such a buzz.
Yes.
And having people alongside cheering you, you don't even realise that it's 13 miles.
Right.
You just get carried by the crowd, and that was something I was looking forward to experiencing. But I would say these are once in a lifetime opportunities. Not everyone gets a chance to do this every time. So just go out and do what you can, and just focus on finishing the race and enjoy it. Enjoy the process.
Well, Christine, so good to see you. I would say
Thank
I'll
you.
see you at the finish either
Yeah,
way.
I'll still be here.
Thanks a lot. Right, let's go to our commentary team then, shall we? Another British Olympian, it's long-distance runner Joe Pavey, joining the one and only Chris Dennis.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome, and we're all set. Normal service is resumed. Mass participation road racing is back. And let's just remind you of the start times here of the programme in the next few minutes. The men's and women's wheelchairs will get underway in about 5 minutes' time. And that'll be followed by the elite men and women getting off together at 8:30 today. Joe, great to have you with us as always. How excited are you to have mass participation road racing back?
Oh, it's just so exciting, isn't it? The organisers have done such a great job enabling this to happen. You know, it's good to give people the confidence that these events can happen. It's absolutely brilliant.
Well, they're just picking out one or two of the main runners to watch out for. Best of British very much on show today. Charlotte Purdue, the standout name in the women's, and Jake Smith, Joe, in the men's race.
Yeah, third on the all-time list, 60:31, amazing PB. So really excited to see how he will go today.
Course records, of course, up for grabs as well. This is the fourth running of the big half. The London Marathon, of course, just 6 weeks away. And there, some of the big names in the wheelchair event. That'll be getting underway very shortly. Of course, many wheelchair racers are in Tokyo preparing for the Paralympic Games, which get underway this weekend. But let's just take you through the course, which takes in the 4 boroughs. We start on the highway going out east through the Limehouse Link Tunnel towards Canary Wharf, home to, over 150,000 office workers, some of the big banks and financial institutions. Wheeling away back down the cobbles of Narrow Street, the iconic area there, into Wapping High Street. Many of these names, of course, familiar to runners of the London Marathon, and over Tower Bridge, onto the south of London, Tooley Street, Jamaica Road, into Rotherhithe, and then into Surrey Quays. It's really a familiar route in reverse for many of the London Marathon runners. And then finally into Deptford, and the last mile into Greenwich, and the finish in front of the iconic Cutty Sark. Well, Shelley Woods, a familiar figure, winner here last year, and Joe has been in great form since coming back from maternity leave.
I know, it's exciting to see her back last year, and she's just a great ambassador for the sport, isn't she? I mean, 2-time Olympic silver medalist, she's won the London Marathon twice, and really excited to see her compete today.
Other names to pick out for you: Nikki Emerson is there, Liz McTiernan and Martina Snopek. But the big name in the women's wheelchair race is that of Shelley Woods, 35 years old now, a 2-time London Marathon winner, 2007 and 12, and well, the return that she's made. There is Nikki Emerson.
Yeah. Nikki Emerson, third in the big half in 2018.
So a small field, compact field, and just pick out one or two of the men. Sam Kolek there, originally from Poland, age 37. He goes, Michael McCabe, there he is, part of the Weir Archer Academy, training with Jenny Archer and David Weir. Very much a rising star of British wheelchair racing. So we're almost ready to go. Conditions, well, they won't mind this, will they, Joe? A little bit of rain, little bit of drizzle, cool conditions.
Yeah, cool conditions, but like you say, great for distance events. Good conditions out there at the moment.
So Shelley Woods preparing to get underway. The elite men and women will be underway in just over 5 minutes' time. 13.1 miles, 4 boroughs, and a really good tune-up for those of these athletes who are going to be competing in the London Marathon in 6 weeks' time, at the beginning of October. There is Shelley Woods. Fond memories of winning here last year. 49.49. Course record, incidentally, 56.39. Manuela Scher was the winner back in 2018. The big half is up and running in 2021 with the elite wheelchair racers Shelley Woods leading the way there with drizzly, wet conditions. It'll be difficult with the gloves on the wheel rims, but they're used to racing in far, far less, and they're making their way along the highway towards the Limehouse Tunnel. And Joe, just talk us through these early stages. So important just to get settled into your rhythm.
Yeah, definitely getting settled as they head out to the Limehouse Tunnel. Like you say, a small field, but a very good field. And, you know, with all these races, we've got really good domestic fields with the challenges of international travel that we have this year. And it's just, like you said earlier, so exciting to see big events like this back. Gives everyone confidence, gives people the opportunity to get out there and compete in these big events, so it's great to see.
Well, Michael McCabe is making the early move here with Sam Kolak just behind him. Previous winners, I can tell you, David Weir was winner here last year in 2020 in the men's wheelchair race in 50.07. Brent Lakatos, David Weir and Marcel Hoog. Marcel Hoog, winner of the inaugural race in 2018. And I'm sure David Weir will be following this with great interest. And they're the names of the wheelchair racers along the bottom of your screen. So difficult conditions here in the early stages, and it is Michael McCabe who's making the early running here. These two have broken away pretty early.
Yeah, Michael McCabe really is a young talent to look out for. His hero is David Weir, that he's always looked up to, and you know, he's only 23 years old and definitely a very exciting prospect. Has a PB of 56.45, and he was 4th in the event last year.
Yeah, he grew up idolising David Weir, as did most people in this sport. So Michael McCabe has made a good start here with Sam Kolak, originally the Polish-born athlete, 37 years old in the red, just tucked in behind him. And these two have already opened up an appreciable gap on the rest of the field behind. We'll be keeping in touch with the wheelchair race as it unfolds, but we'll be heading to the start of the elite race, and here we are. And there'll be between 11 and 12,000 runners. We're expecting that sort of number, 15,000 actually registered. And because of the current conditions, we're going to be operating in waves of 1,000 runners at a time, just to keep the distance as close as possible. And here, being introduced to the elite men. And there's the start list of some of the big names, Joe, in the elite women's race.
Yeah, I have Naomi Mitchell second in the London Marathon. Samantha Harrison really making strides forward. Obviously, Charlotte Purdue, winner of that London Marathon in 2019, won this event in 2018 and 19. Tasha Cockram, first Brit in the London Marathon, and many others to look out for.
So those the elite women. What about the men? Well, Johnny Mellor very much to the fore here.
Good to see him back after that gout-related injury he's suffered, unfortunately affecting his chances of qualifying for the Olympics, even though he'd won the London Marathon last year.
So,
sorry, the first Brit in the London Marathon.
Yeah, Mohamed Ardan, first to be introduced, who was 3rd in these Olympic trials, like Mo Farah. The Somalian-born came to the UK as a young man. Johnny Mellor, British #1 marathon runner in 2020, so disappointed, as Joe was saying, not to be able to go to Tokyo and take part in the Olympic marathon, so perhaps with something to prove here. And very much the rising star of British long-distance running, Jake Smith. What a talent he is, 60.31, his lifetime best, the Cardiff Athletics Club runner.
Verity Okuden, bronze medalist in the European Indoor Championships over 3,000 metres. Exciting to see her run today. Tasha Cockram, first Brit in the London Marathon, held on that bicycle route last year. Charlotte Purdue, excited to see her back after the disappointment of not qualifying for being selected for the Olympic Games, and obviously she's won this race in 2018-19, and see how she fares today.
Also the course record holder as well, so. Watch is poised, coiled springs on the start line. We are almost ready. We are underway. The 4th big half is up and running on the streets of London. on a drizzly, grey, overcast Sunday morning. But goodness me, isn't it great to see mass participation road racing back in full force. This is the biggest mass participation event since the start of the pandemic. And behind them, 11 to 12,000 runners, each with their own personal goals, their own backstories, all looking to achieve something special here on the streets of London here on Sunday morning. What a sight.
I know, what a sight. Like you say, you've got the elite runners, you've got people running for charities, you've got people out there going for their own personal goals, and it's brilliant to see how these events have been able to start taking place. The organisers done a great job. They've got 11 waves going off that will actually take 3 minutes each wave to pass the line. Each wave will be 4 minutes gap between each one, and you know, there's been things in place to make this a positive day, make this happen, and we're so pleased to see it.
This is all about celebrating the diversity of London as well. It's very much a community-focused race. There is Christina Hurrigu, the official starter. She must be very disappointed not to be actually out there running, but as we heard just before the start of the race, just picked up a little bit of a back problem, but she'll be, I'm sure, trying to keep herself under wraps for the London Marathon, which she's due to race at the start of October.
Yeah, what a great challenge for her after being so amazing winning those Olympics at 400 metres to actually take on a marathon. That's a big challenge, but she's a person who always loves a challenge, and be really brilliant that she can run in that race.
Very much the theme of this year's race is we run as one, celebrating the diversity of London and all its boroughs. And the early stages here, and Jake Smith there, left of picture, already into his running in the black, the Cardiff Athletics Club runner.
Yeah, it's brilliant to see him get out there like he always does. He's such an exciting new talent coming through. He's already third on the British all-time list for the half marathon with that PB of 60:31, which he set at the World Half Marathon Championships. And he actually ran a whole marathon, running inside the Olympic qualifying time, running 2:11 when he ran the Cheshire Marathon in April. And he was meant to be pacing that race like he had the trial. And, you know, to just think, oh, I'll just carry on and run the whole race and run such fantastic time. I mean, he's going to be someone to really look out for in the future.
Yes, he's already the third fastest over the half marathon distance. Yeah, that's quite a story, isn't it, when you start out as a pacemaker and think, actually, I'm feeling so good. I think he was only meant to go to about 17 miles, but he carried on and produced that brilliant performance over his inaugural marathon. Ardan there in the sky blue is tucking in just behind him with a personal best of 62:30. That was in the Cardiff half back in 2018. He represented Britain in the World Half Marathon Championships in Poland. He was the second Brit home on that occasion. We had hoped to have Mo Farah himself here again this year, but unfortunately the injury that kept him out of the, well, basically was the reason for him not qualifying for the 10,000 metres in Tokyo, hasn't quite healed, so he didn't want to risk it today. So we don't have a Farah, but we have another Mo in Ardan.
Yeah, I say Mo Ardan was obviously third in those marathon trials for the Olympics, unfortunately just outside the qualifying time on that day, but you know, he's making strides forward all the time and he looks great here today.
We will be giving you split times as they go through, as we get them. 13.1 miles, so at the moment they're just heading out east towards the Canary Wharf area. Tony Miller there is tucked in about, what, 4th place at the moment.
Yeah, Johnny Miller had that huge disappointment of picking up a gout-related injury which saw him not able to compete in the Olympic trials, and you know, in the London Marathon he had become the first Brit in that race, and he ran 2:10 twice last year, once in that London Marathon and also once in Seville, so it's such a shame.
Let's just pick up one or two of the women. There is Samantha Harrison, very exciting talent. She did well here last year, really caught the eye.
She's a great young talent, second in this event last year, but she was leading really up until about 3 miles to go last year, and really went for it like she is today. And she's a great young talent, and she's going to be running the London Marathon. At the moment she has a PB of 2:51 in the marathon. That's definitely up for a lot of revision when you see what time she's running in the half. It would be exciting to see her have a proper crack at the marathon, and this event here will be absolutely fantastic preparation for that.
The men through the first mile in 4:37. 4:34 just coming through on our screens now. 4:34 for the first mile for the men.
So that means, you know, they're just outside the 60-minute mark at the moment, very close to it.
So into the Limehouse Tunnel. It's quite an iconic part of the London landscape. Gets very noisy when you go through there. Quite an eerie sort of sound, actually, is the Limehouse link. But it basically links the highway to the Canary Wharf area. So James Smith still leading the way with Ardan, both looking very, very comfortable indeed. We should also mention Phil Seisman from Leeds making his half marathon debut.
Yeah, it's great to see Phil Sees just up there. You know, he competed for GB in the European Indoors in March 21 this year, and he's a junior doctor, trains up there in Leeds. He was second in the Barrowford Podium 5K, running 13:40 in April, so he's shown some very, very good form on the roads already, but this is a big step up for him, and you know, he's obviously determined to make a great debut here today.
For those of you who like your little historical background, the Limehouse Link Tunnel, second largest non-estuarial road tunnel in the UK. That's after the Hindhead Tunnel. Some of you may know that in Surrey, and it opened in 1993. Charlotte Purdue just entering the tunnel here as the two-time champion and the course record holder. She was bitterly disappointed not to have made the cut for Tokyo. Of course, she picked up an injury and then wasn't able to really get back into form, and she perhaps is coming into this race with a little bit to prove. So Charlotte Purdue there looking very, very good indeed. She's been training well, short in stature, only just over 5 foot tall, but a huge, huge talent. And she's looking very, very comfortable indeed.
She's very good at pacing, Charlotte. She always goes off and seems to judge races really well. You've seen other times she's won this event, she's come through in the later stages, and that first mile with Sam Harrison leading was a very, very fast mile, going through in 5 minutes 09, so really has gone for it today, and Charlotte pacing well here.
Well, Charlotte Purdue going well here on the streets of London, and before the race started we caught up with her a few days ago, and she was telling us a little bit more about her preparation and what it's like competing and training during a global pandemic.
So living with the pandemic at the start was really tough. I actually flew back from Australia in 2020, landed off the plane, it was raining really bad, and my boyfriend picked me up and he told me that London Marathon had been cancelled. That was really tough to take, that one, because I was in really good shape. I'd been training really well. I just ran a PB half marathon in Japan, so I was feeling really good going into it. So yeah, when that got cancelled, I took a bit of time off to kind of reset. We didn't actually know if there would be a marathon trials, so I was still training for that marathon trials for the Olympics because we thought it was going to go ahead. Then unfortunately I got injured, so I had to miss the London Marathon in 2020, which again was really bad timing and annoying. But yeah, I guess just I was trying to focus on the next thing really, so obviously we didn't know what events would be happening. As soon as I found out there was going to be a London Marathon, I was training for that, and then obviously got injured, but always looking to the next thing and the next big goal. That was how I was trying to cope. Looking forward to returning to London Marathon very much. It's been a long time. It doesn't feel to me like that long. I can remember every single moment of that day in 2019 like it was yesterday, but obviously having to miss last year's London Marathon elite race, I was gutted to miss that, and then yeah, so this one will be really special to me to come back and be able to run the London Marathon again. I mean, just the crowds in London are so much better than anywhere else in the world. I think especially being a British athlete running the London Marathon, you get the support of the crowd even more. It just lifts you when you run around. There's not a moment on the course where you don't really hear someone shouting your name, so that's definitely really special. Yeah, and obviously like seeing the landmarks as well as you go around, you kind of know where you are, which is good. I always want to run like 100% the best I can in any race, so I would always want to run really well at London Marathon, but yeah, deep down there's always a little bit of extra motivation to run really well this year, yeah.
Well, great to hear Charlotte Purdue speaking so positively about her preparation coming in. It has been a difficult time, hasn't it, for all athletes to try and keep their training going, their preparation going, but she's looking pretty good here, going through the Limehouse Link Tunnel. What makes her so special and such a talent? What makes her stand out for you, Jo?
I mean, yeah, I mean, she's just been brilliant how determined she's been over the years. She's got that economical running style. I mean, just so impressed with the time she ran in London in 2019 when she was the first Brit home running 2:25:38, and you know, she was showing great form. She spoke about her disappointment of not being able to compete in London last year when it was cancelled after she'd already run such a brilliant half marathon in Japan, running 68:23, and you know, she has an amazing PB of 68:08, which she set in the Great North Run in September in 2019, and she's had that disappointment of not being selected, but for the Olympics, but she's so focused now on the London Marathon and gaining selection for that World, and here she seems to be closing the gap now on Samantha Harrison, who's gone off determinedly as she has in many races.
Yes, very aggressive start from Sam Harrison, but being reeled in a little bit by Charlotte Purdue. Samantha Harrison, 26 years old, the Charnwood AC runner, only started running seriously in 2018. Has made some extraordinary progress over the distance, reducing her PB from 84:10 to 71:01 in just 2 years. She too is running the London Marathon in October. So in the women's race so far, as they approach Canary Wharf, it's Purdue who's just coming up onto the, well, more or less onto the shoulder of Samantha Harrison. So these two women well clear from the rest of the field and starting to make their way through some of the better male club runners, Jo.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing when the starts, men and women, the elite women can benefit from these brilliant club men runners here today, and this will really help them to run a good time. And somebody's looking at their phone there, obviously, really keeping an eye on the pace there. But yeah, both Sam and Charlotte will definitely benefit from these great men club runners here today. But you know, Charlotte's got an eye on the pace. She'll be really conscious of getting the pace right, and obviously hopefully Sam and Charlotte can work together here to get a great time. And like I said, I'm really excited to see the progress that Samantha Harrison is making. She's run a brilliant half marathon PB in April, running 69:48, which is really getting up there with a brilliant time for women running the half marathon. And she only took up running seriously in 2018 and just improving all the time. She ran a great half marathon in the Antrim Coast Half Marathon last year. She ran great here last year, and really I think she's got a great career ahead of her in the marathon, so it's really exciting to watch her progress.
You've raced on the roads in London so many times. In these early stages, in this case of a half marathon, what are the key urgent things that you need to concentrate on?
I think you're very much aware of what pace you're running. You need that information, and you're just trying to keep relaxed and economical, not tense up. Really think about keeping relaxed and concentrated and focused on the race ahead. And yeah, you know, it can be quite daunting when you've got a lot of miles to do, but you're really thinking about time and what time you've got left to run. And obviously in a marathon you've got gels and things to take on board, and working out all your nutrition strategies too, so there's always lots to think about.
First of a few twists and turns as they come into the Westbury Circus roundabout. Again, a feature that many people will know from the London Marathon. Meanwhile, here's the front of the men's race, and we have 3 runners well cleared. Jake Smith, as we expected, Adan, and also Weissman as well. The athlete on the right of picture there from Leeds.
Yeah, and we think they've gone through the 3 mile point in 14:02, which puts them on a good pace of around 61 minutes there.
Well, Jake Smith is a really good runner to watch. He looks so easy, doesn't he? Really up on his toes. Very businesslike, very slight figure. And 15 minutes, and you can hear, and what a sound that is, Joe. Isn't it great to hear people on the side of the course, out cheering and watching, and it's been a long time since we heard that on the streets of London.
Oh, it has, and the athletes will be really appreciating this. They've had so much time during the pandemic where they haven't had the opportunities like this, and it will be exciting out there for them today. A lot of them have taken part in races where there's been, you know, in a biosecure environment like the London Marathon, not having those opportunities and getting the crowd back is brilliant. And here we see Samantha Harrison and Charlotte Purdue working together here, both looking great.
Yes, we often say that you've got to concentrate on your own race. From memory, in 2020, Charlotte Purdue started slowly. I think Steph Twell went out quite hard, didn't she? And
yeah.
Charlotte Purdue just eventually reeled her in, just running her own race. How many plans do you tend to have when you're running a race? To what extent do you need to react to what your competitors are doing?
Yeah, it's kind of a bit of both, really, isn't it? Because from your training, having years of experience, you do get an idea of what shape you're in and what pace you think you can maintain on a certain day. But of course, you have a race plan in your mind, and you do still have to react to what's going around you. But really, when you've got such long events like the half marathon and the marathon, you can't risk always going off too hard in the early stages, because you do pay for it later. And from the experience, you know what pace to go off at. And as you see in so many of these long races, people that pace it well come through in the later stages. And Charlotte's known for getting her pace spot on and coming through to great performances.
Has really matured over the years, coached by Nick Bideau. Spends a lot of time out in Australia, as you heard from the interview that we had just a little bit earlier. But what a contrast in stature, really. The tall figure of Samantha Harrison and the diminutive figure, only 1.53 metre, Charlotte Purdue. But she speaks well, doesn't she? Lots and lots of confidence. And I mean, how much will it have hurt not to have been lining up in Tokyo in that marathon?
Oh, it was massive, and in her words, she said she felt like she'd been thrown under a bus. She was really hoping that selection, she felt that the wrong information was given to the selectors, and yeah, it was a massive disappointment for her. But she's a tough character, she's determined. I know she's put that behind her at this stage and is really focused on getting out there, proving what athlete she is, running today and in the London Marathon, and hoping to gain selection for the World Championships in Oregon.
I said Tokyo, of course. The marathons were in Sapporo up in Hokkaido, weren't they? Because of, ironically, because of the supposedly cooler conditions. But for those people who were watching the Olympic marathons, the conditions up in Sapporo were brutally hot as well, so there wasn't that much of an advantage in the end. But these conditions here in London this morning, very, very different indeed. Here are the three leading men, with Jake Smith, as we thought he would be, centre of picture, just 23 years old, coached by James Thie, who does a fine job.
Yeah, James Thie, obviously great athlete himself, came fourth in the world indoors in the 1500. He's done so well with Jake Smith, like he has with many other athletes. I think he was probably a bit daunted to find that Jake had finished that whole marathon at the Cheshire Marathon, and I think he said he probably would have tried to drag him off had he been there on the day. But you know, he's coaching in Maverick. He said he's coaching this determined person, and you know, that's exciting from a coaching point of view, obviously, as well. But you know, he's got that sort of free-spirited approach to running, and he's got such a great economical style. You can see why he's capable of these performances.
Well, these three are pulling clear, approaching 4 miles. And Arden is an interesting character as well. He was 6th in this race last year, Thames Valley Harrier. Competed in the World Halves in Poland. Great experience for him as well. He's 31 years old now, but like his namesake, Mo Farah, came over to the UK as a young boy, born in Somalia, and has run in the Great North Run. Second Brit behind Mo Farah, who is his idol, as is the case for so many of these British runners. So he's looking pretty comfortable as well. And the only surprise really is that we're not seeing Johnny Mellor in this leading group. We'll keep an eye and try and get you news of his progress. But it's Phil Seisman from Leeds, the young man making his half marathon debut. And Joe, it's always difficult, isn't it, to really try and anticipate how somebody's going to do when they're making their debut over a new distance.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, he's showing that promise on the track. He's running up good performances. Interesting, they went through that fourth mile in 4 minutes 51, which going through in 18:57, which kind of puts them on a pace of sort of around 61 minutes, and they're still running well here today. But yeah, I've been excited to watch his debut, and he looks strong at the moment. I mean, Jake Smith is looking extremely strong there and relaxed, and it's good to see Mo Ardun pushing the pace.
As he did, of course, in those Olympic trials, in a very different setting in Kew Gardens there. So they're just slowed down a little bit. The first mile in 4:34, 4:51, as Joe was saying, for the fourth mile. Course record, incidentally, was set last year by the great Kenenisa Bekele in 60:22. That was a pretty ferocious pace there. Kenenisa Bekele, who's announced that he's going to be competing both in Berlin and New York. That is extraordinary. 2 autumn marathons.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about Bekele as not having the passion anymore, and he proves them wrong time and time again. He's always getting out there, producing the performances. Last year, that was an exciting event, watching, you know, Bekele running and Tomo pushing the pace.
Very much so. Just a first glimpse there of Jack Rowe, who's lying in 4th place, just getting onto the back of Seisman there. So that group of 3, led by Ardun in the 5th mile, is now a group of 4 with Jack Rowe, Aldershot Farnham District Club. He's got a half marathon best of 69:55. He's very, very tasty, Joe, over 5K.
Yeah, I mean, his PB of 69:55 set way back in 2014. Yeah, he's a great 5K runner. Ran in the British Championships in the 5,000 in 2020. He was second in that. He's done a bit of 1,500 metre running this year on the track in July, both in Wimbledon and in the Loughborough BMC Grand Prix, running 3 minutes 42. 5,000 metre PB, 13:35 in Gateshead in May this year. So yeah, he's been showing some really good form, and also on the roads, running 13:36 in Battersea Park.
This is down the historical street of Narrow Street. Again, many of you may know that and remember it from the London Marathon course, place where ships would have docked back in the day. Buildings of great character on the right of picture, the left of the runners as we look down, and there's some real history here. It was the site of the original Chinatown, believe it or not, and the likes of actor Sir Ian McKellen among the residents on Narrow Street. Back to the women, who are a little bit behind, just come out of the Limehouse Link Tunnel. Samantha Harrison and Charlotte Purdue still leading the way there, looking very, very comfortable indeed. And, well, for me, just in terms of body language, Joe, just looking at Samantha Harrison, looking as though she's very relaxed and actually looks very determined. And this is quite an aggressive run, isn't it, from Harrison?
Yeah, I mean, the last mile was 5 minutes 23. They went through the 4th mile at 21:28, which puts them on kind of about 70-minute pace, which is a really good pace here today.
Should say that for those of you who have run mass participation races, you'll know that it's important to have clothing on at the start, and then maybe an old sweater, long sleeve sweater that you then discard. Any clothing that was discarded at the start of the race is going to be donated this year to the British Heart Foundation, so there's absolutely no wastage, and it's all part, Joe, of the wider sustainability message of this event.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, this event is always an event which is brilliant for the community, both in donations to charity, I mentioned the British Heart Foundation, but also how it encourages people from the local boroughs to get involved. It encourages diversity, wanting to get more people into running, and it's absolutely fantastic, the job that this event does.
It certainly does. That is Tower Bridge, which will be awaiting the runners very shortly, the iconic Tower Bridge, which of course the runners will go over in the London Marathon on October the 2nd. This is the lead of the wheelchair race. These are the wheelchair racers who are well ahead of the field. And this is the leading man, by the look of it, Sam Kolek in the red. So we'll keep an eye on that. Sam Kolek, age 37, leading the way in the men's wheelchair race. A little bit of a change back at the head of the men's. Ardun has just dropped off. Remember, we had a group of 3: Smith, Seisman and Ardun, joined by Rowe. And now, Joe, is this a gap that should be troubling Ardun there at the back?
Yeah, I'm surprised to see him looking maybe like he's struggling a little bit at this stage, because he was looking so strong, and the last mile was 5 minutes 04. So, you know, in a way you'd be surprised that he is possibly struggling at this stage, but maybe he's just hanging back a bit, and we'll see how he goes, because he does seem to be closing up a bit on Rowe at the moment.
Well, Smith looking comfortable, and James Thie, I'm sure watching on, will be delighted with the way his man is conducting himself here. Still very early stages, but we're approaching, well, in the next 5 minutes, half an hour of running, so we'll be approaching the halfway stage of this race. But they have slowed down, haven't they, appreciably? Yeah. They're back along the highway, so you can see runners who are going out towards Canary Wharf and the Docklands on the left-hand side, and the elite runners coming down on the right. So it's an added bonus, isn't it? I mean, it happens in the London Marathon as well, doesn't it, Joe? Where, and you and I have both run that race, although in very different speeds, I have to say, before I try and compare myself with you. But it happens in the London Marathon, where you see runners on both sides of the carriageway.
Yeah, and it's often nice for the elite runners, because the crowd are supportive and cheer you on sometimes, which is nice. And here we see Charlotte Purdue and Sam Harrison still running side by side.
Yes, and they'll be working off each other. Very rare that you see athletes talking to each other, although we did see that a little bit, didn't we, in the Olympic marathon. We saw Eliud Kipchoge having a little chat with some of his fellow runners as they were going round. Very relaxed indeed. But I suppose there's almost a subliminal communication between runners, where, as you say, they're really working off each other.
Oh, they're definitely working off each other. They both want to win this race today, and you know, Charlotte Purdue is really proven herself in the international scene, and Sam Harrison, the new up-and-coming talent who's improving all the time. And these two sort of at different stages of their career and working off each other here today.
Well, she's a real coffee fan, is Charlotte Purdue. You can ask her about coffee, and you can have a whole interview talking about the different types of coffee that she likes. She is passionate about that, amongst other things, and I'm sure she'll have had a couple of Steph espressos. What was your preferred pre-race breakfast and drink?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Charlotte there. I love a coffee before I run. I think it gets you ready for the race. And yeah, I suppose before I'd run, I'm more likely to have something like a bit of porridge and banana, and then a bit of an energy bar. But yeah, the coffee is a really important part of preparation for me, as well as it is for Charlotte. I know she's a real expert. I'm sure she's had a couple of coffees this morning.
Talk about a couple of coffees. I don't know if you picked up that Sifan Hassan, when she was going for that treble in Tokyo, had 25 coffees, I think, to get her through a punishing schedule. This is back in the wheelchairs. This is Michael McCabe just going over Tower Bridge, and you can see there from that shot the extent of the rise into the middle of Tower Bridge, and now he's just reaching the apex of that rise, and he is behind the leader, Sam Kolek, we saw go over a little while ago. So that is quite a gap, isn't it, between the first two in the men's wheelchair race. There is Kolek already over Tower Bridge into Rotherhithe. He'll be down Tooley Street as we speak. So Kolek has a significant lead at the moment in the men's wheelchair race, with Michael McCabe, the youngster, the 23-year-old, in second place. That is Matthew Clark, who is the third men's wheelchair racer. There is Clark, 44-year-old from Yorkshire. And here we are on the cobbles, coming into Wapping. And Joe, you've run the London Marathon. I'm not sure whether the cobbles were still on the course when you ran. Had they diverted that? Because there used to be cobbles, didn't there, on the London Marathon route?
There was cobbles, but I've got a feeling they covered them with something. Yeah, I think so. And yeah, you do have to be careful when you go over that bit, because it does knock you off your stride, definitely. Yes, and potential for twisting the ankle, of course, and particularly if the cobbles are wet, which they are today. But they've negotiated that really nicely. Well, they're pretty consistent. They have slowed down, 4:55 through the sixth mile, and that's appreciably slower, isn't it, than the opening mile. But this gang of four still very much there, looking pretty sprightly. Jake Smith, I have to say, his natural running style, so composed and so relaxed. Yeah, definitely. I mean, they've gone through at the moment about sort of 62, sort of 14 pace, and you know, they did slow down a bit. But yeah, like you're saying, Jake Smith, his running style is so economical, so perfect for distance running, and he looks very relaxed at the moment.
There's She's got such a great range, and well, we always hesitate to pin too many labels on young athletes coming through, whatever the distance. But you can't help but stand back and admire Jake Smith. I think he will really emerge. We've got Callum Hawkins, of course, Johnny Mellor, Ben Connor, obviously Mo Farah, if he hasn't already, is approaching the end of his marathon career. And these two, well, they've got quite a lead at the moment, Charlotte Purdue and Samantha Harrison. And knowing and having seen Charlotte Purdue run so many times in the past, I don't want to tempt fate, but it just feels as though she could move away at any stage.
Yeah, it does. She always looks so composed, and she's so concentrated on her running. She says she only looks like just in front of her on the road, she's just in that zone, just focusing on what she has to do. And we've seen this so many times, haven't we? Have focused on the pace she's running and coming through, being strong at the end, and often taking people by surprise, coming from behind and going forward to be the victor of the race when she's got the pacing just right.
So into the second half hour of running. A reminder, the men and women started at the same time at 8:30 this morning. There, the course record held by the athlete right of picture, 70:29. Charlotte Purdue set that in 2018. A two-time winner here. She'll have to go some to get into that sort of territory today. But this, for many of these athletes, many of them actually now directly sponsored by London Marathon events, are using this as an important tune-up, aren't they? An important preparation for the London Marathon, which, we should remind you, is only 6 weeks away.
Yeah, and both these athletes, both Sam Harris and Charlotte Purdue, are both focused on the London Marathon this year.
So the men, Jake Smith still there. Sadly, we lost one or two athletes. We lost Charlie Hulson. He had a slight niggle and didn't want to risk picking up anything more serious for the London Marathon. Here is McCabe then, Michael McCabe, who's looking to be who's looking a little bit laboured here. The athlete from Bromley, and Matthew Clark, who's closing in here, and you wouldn't be surprised, Joe, to see perhaps Matthew Clark reeling in Michael McCabe. So these are the second and third athletes in the men's wheelchair race, with Kolak well clear. So Michael McCabe was fourth last year in the big half, coached by Christine Parslow. Personal best of 54:17, but it looks as though it might not be his day today. Matthew Clark, 44 years old. He's competed in 9 full London marathons. Best finish for him was 16th back in 2010. And his best half marathon time, 51:36. So back with the wheelchairs on a regular basis, but well, Jack Rowe looking very, very good indeed here.
Yeah, he looks very, very relaxed there.
Should stress as well that Phil Seisman there in the white from Leeds is making his debut over the half marathon distance. Now then, let's just catch up with the women's wheelchair racers. This looks like Liz McTiernan coming over. Now this is Nikki Emerson.
Nikki Emerson, yeah.
Nikki Emerson coming over Tower Bridge, 33 years old. Was third in the inaugural big half back in 2018. Inspired to take up wheelchair racing by, not surprisingly, the great Baroness Tanni Grey-Thompson.
Back to the women's race, and they went through mile 6 at a time of 32:14, which means they're well under. Yeah, so they're sort of around 70-minute pace still, which is a brilliant pace.
So the women hitting the cobbles, the men on Tower Bridge here, and we have still this group of 4. Mo Arden just about hanging on here at the back, but Jack Rowe continuing to impress as they go over this iconic bridge. world famous, of course. It will appear on picture postcards throughout the world. It's the halfway point, of course, of the London Marathon. And the runners crossing from the north of the river to the south, from Southwark into Bermondsey.
And they're still on about 62, sort of 15 pace at the moment. The last mile they ran in 4 minutes 52.
And I can tell you that Andrew Hayes from Hallamshire is lying in 5th place. So he's not in shot at the moment, but he's the leading athlete behind this group of 4 leading the way. Johnny Mellor looks to be struggling here. We'd have expected to see Johnny Mellor very much in that first group.
Yeah, it's disappointing to see that he hasn't been able to stay in that lead group. I'm sure he'd be disappointed, but he has had to come back from that awful injury that he at first thought was caused by a calf sleeve and then realised it was a gout-related injury, had many injections, had the foot drained. It's been a long comeback for him.
How common is gout in an elite athlete? It sounds strange to me.
Yeah, very rare. It's more related to people that are a bit older, had a lot to drink maybe, and he's teetotal himself, Johnny Mellor. So very, very unlucky, and I wonder if he's had to watch his diet, maybe cut down on any sort of red meat and fish and, you know, take any medication for gout. I don't know, but it was very, very unusual and very, very unfortunate, and especially the timing of it.
Now then, are things changing in the women's race here? Charlotte Purdue, with just over 36 minutes on the clock, has made her move here. We sensed that really it was just a matter of time before she took this race by the scruff of the neck, and it looks, Joe, as if she's done exactly that.
She does look as though she's making her move there, timing it perfectly with the pace she's running. She's such a strong athlete and has come up through the ranks, got cross-country medals both as a junior and a senior, had a great track career, but has really found her forte in these half-marathon and marathon events. And it was always exciting to see her take that step up to the road racing scene, and she's really taking the events by the scruff of the neck. And it was bitterly disappointing for her that she couldn't be selected for the Olympic marathon, but she's out here, like you said, extra point to prove, extra motivation to prove the athlete that she is.
And actually, it's a mark of her maturity, isn't it? That certainly when being interviewed, she didn't make a big deal of it, but we know deep down that she was bitterly disappointed not to be in Tokyo. But she's dusted herself off and not made a huge song and dance about it, got on with it, quietly gone about her business, gone back to the training, and is really an athlete like many who just like to do their talking on the roads and on the track.
Oh yeah, I totally agree, Chris. She, you know, put that disappointment behind her, very diplomatically just talked about how she was focused now on running a good race in the London Marathon, running to gain selection for those World Championships in Oregon, because it's been announced that the first British athlete in the London Marathon will gain automatic selection, providing they've got the qualifying time. And she's doing her talking out there today, running well and getting on with things, having a positive approach. And of course, she's still at an age where she can aim for that next Olympics in 3 years' time, which is a bit closer to the previous Olympics than we normally have. So I'm sure she'll have a great chance of competing in Olympic Games in her career.
Well, they're into the second half of the race here. They've gone through 7 miles and just entering the incline on Tower Bridge with the old Tower Hotel there to the right of picture, which is the base for the London Marathon, headquarters for the media.
Yeah, they went through, they did that 7th mile in 5 minutes 23, which means they're just outside a 70-minute pace still, which is brilliant pace.
Well, if they maintain that, then the course record could be on 70:29, remember, held by Charlotte Purdue herself from 2018, and that gap is starting to increase all the while by Samantha Harrison, and it's a lonely place to be when you're running in isolation. They were shoulder to shoulder, weren't they, working off each other, as we said, but now Charlotte Purdue has taken the handbrake off and decided that it's her race to control, and it'll take a monumental effort here from Harrison to get back onto the coattails of Purdue.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just looking at Charlotte, she's got such an economical style, hasn't she? She's not got a high leg lift, and she's not using much energy to go at the great speeds that she's running, and she looks really great out there today, and I'm really pleased for her. She's been through the mill with everything that's gone on in the last year, having shown great form, then the pandemic happening right at the wrong time for her, and then suffering that disappointment, and she's out there running well again now, which is brilliant. And here we have Jack Rowe maintain the pace, looking really, really relaxed, and Jake Smith looking really good too. And it's good to see a group of 4 of them still running well together there. Mo Adan seems to have recovered from any slight loss of form that was early in the race, and he's up there with that leading pack again now.
Yeah, 40 minutes on the clock, and still have this group of 4. It could be a thrilling finish here as they enter the second half and the latter stages of the race. So Jake Smith, this youngster, the 23-year-old, the rising star of British half and full marathon running. Jack Rowe from the same club as the likes of Steph Twell, Aldershot Farnham District, club you know well, I'm sure, Joe, from your running days.
Yeah, they're running. I was saying that last mile was a lot quicker, 4 minutes 41, so the pace has picked up again at the moment.
Single file though. Seisman will keep an eye on him as well. He's having a terrific debut. And at what point, when you're making a debut, think back to your first ever London Marathon, are you thinking mentally, goodness me, this is now officially further than I've ever run before?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with a marathon, you've got to think of trying to get to the 18-mile point, if possible, feeling relatively comfortable before the racing really starts after the 20-mile point, really. I think partly you think of time on the watch, trying to focus on, right, OK, there's approximately half an hour left to run, things like that, to try and play mind games with yourself. And it is tough, but all these athletes are well practiced at the mindset of these distance running events, but it can be tough, definitely.
They're now in the borough of Southwark, one of the 4 boroughs, of course, of this big half event. And Southwark Park, Joe, is not too far away from here. Has an athletics track, and well, you've been involved in a project to make that happen.
Yeah, I was really honoured that, along with David Weir, we went along to the track at Southwark Park that was given money from the London Marathon Charitable Trust, and we had the honour of opening the track on that day, and it was lovely to meet people of the community and see what benefits they were getting from such a great facility. So that was in 2017. It was definitely a massive honour.
Yeah, just one of many examples of the good work that the London Marathon Trust does to support projects, not just throughout London, but across the whole country. Terrific work there done by the Trust, and Hugh Brasher, the race director. We'll be hearing from him a little bit later on in the programme. In the meantime, the racing's on here, and once again it's the 2 athletes in black singlets. They were taking the lion's share, doing the heavy lifting here. Seisman is just tucking in there. Just talk to us about his arm carriage there, as we get a nice shot of Seisman in the white there, second to left of the picture. Slightly lower arm carriage.
Yeah, it is a lower arm carriage, but looks like it's not wasting much energy, doesn't it? You know, everyone finds their own particular running style that works well for them, and you do notice people that are good at running long distances do find a way of being economical with their style, and that looks like it would be using not too much energy. Looks very economical, very relaxed. I mean, all the men there look very relaxed in the face. They've all got brilliant running styles. Jake Smith just taking a look round there. Maybe he's thinking of making a move, looking around to see what the other competitors are doing and what they're feeling like. Looking around again there, I wonder what he's thinking. Is he thinking he's going to make his move? Well, yes, he has started to open a gap there, and he looks really strong. Keeps looking back, wants to see if the others are coming with him or not, but he looks strong, and at the moment they're not literally going with him, but it'd be interesting to see what this next mile split is. He's really looking back, isn't he? He really wants to see what's going on behind him, but he doesn't need to worry at the moment. He's looking great, and he is starting to look like he's moving away slightly. Yes,
they've gone through 9 miles, and maybe that was a pre-arranged and pre-agreed plan by James Three. Still continues to look around. Is this a decisive break? They're on Brunel Road, and they're following the arch of the Thames. It's quite a tight bend as they go into Rotherhithe. When they come out, they'll be going in towards Lewisham and Deptford. So we're into not quite the latter stages of the race, but approaching. And this is quite early, isn't it, for Jake Smith to have made his move. There he is.
There was another fairly quick mile. The last mile they went through, they did in 4:43. So again, the last couple of miles have been a pace where it's been picked up a bit, and that might explain why a gap is starting to open now.
And if you were coaching the 3 athletes behind, what's the tactic for the chasing group? Work as a pack?
Yeah, I mean, Jake Smith is going from strength to strength. It might be they've decided to run for second place. I mean, we all know that Jake is going to start running quicker and quicker as time goes by. You know, he's still making improvements all the time. He's just a real talent now and for the future, as his performance will go from strength to strength, and he really has made his mark there. And the way he was looking back, like you say, it looks like with his coach James Thie, they'd come up with that race plan. He definitely made a decisive move, but he really wants to see what they're doing behind him, doesn't he? He wants to know that gap is opening up as he's planned. Now looking at his watch and really aware of what pace he's running there.
Well, one of the first rules of certainly track racing is never look around, because that gives a negative vibe to your fellow competitors, but he's doing plenty of looking around here. Eyes straight out in front though for Charlotte Purdue in the women's race. She's broken Samantha Harrison. We've just lost sight of her there. She's just out of picture. And here we are. Here is the conclusion to the men's wheelchair race, and it is Sam Kolek. Sam Kolek comes through in 50.41. Well, the first wheelchair racer is home. Sam Kolek, Polish-born, based in Liverpool, took up the sport at the Greenbank Sports Academy at national level, competed in Poland before that. So Sam Kolek, winner of the men's wheelchair race.
And the gap there from Jake Smith to the rest of the field only seems to be getting bigger, and he looks very, very confident in his running today.
Yes, he does. He's up on his toes. If he's not looking around, he's looking at his watch, and it's a definite injection of pace here. A little bit of a decline, as you can see. He's using the gradient of the road to good effect there. He'll be turning pretty sharp right, actually, into Salter Road, for those of you who know this part of the country. Again, just to their left will be the River Thames, so they're not far away from the river, which snakes through Rotherhithe. Then there'll be a few twists and turns between miles 10 and 11. But this is a decisive break here from Jake Smith.
Very decisive, and he's still looking back. They do say in distance running, don't they, sometimes, don't look back, because it could be a sign of weakness. But I think in this case today, it's definitely not a sign of weakness from Jake Smith. I think he just wants to check that his race plan is going to plan, and at this stage he looks absolutely fantastic.
He can't help himself, can he?
No.
He just wants that extra reassurance. We almost need to get him a set of wing mirrors, don't we? So he can just have a little cheeky glance. But he's looking good. He's looking very composed, and there he is going through 10 miles in just outside 47.15. So he'll come into Surrey Quays. This is the area of London known as Surrey Quays. He'll be making a sharp right turn very shortly. He'll actually be passing the start of the big mile, which will get underway later on today, the last mile of the race, which gives the general public and community runners the chance to run the last mile of this big half course. But Jake Smith on his toes here, looking very, very fresh indeed, bouncing along the now drying out streets of London. The rain has just eased off a little bit, and great support, Joe, at the side, and that must be music to your ears if you're a competitor.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I mean, they've missed this, and it really will encourage them. And there we see some of the mass field, and you know, everyone's out there today running for their own personal reasons, whether that's to try and get a PB or just to take part and soak up the atmosphere and raise money for important charities. And this gap now from Jake Smith seems to be getting even bigger. He put in a very fast last mile, and you know, they're around sort of 62-minute pace to just under, and you know, he's got the best PB in the field, and he would have felt comfortable and has been able to put the surge in this last sort of couple of miles or so.
Glimpse there, I think, of Liz McTernan in the black in the wheelchair race, one of the competitors in the women's wheelchair. Still waiting for the first woman to come through. Haven't had a glimpse yet of Shelley Woods. We've got one wheelchair racer home, Sam Kolek, in the men's race, looking for confirmation of the winning time there. Comfortably outside the course record, though, held by Brent Lakatos, who won here last year in 48.44, just outside 50 minutes unofficially.
And the last mile Jake Smith put in was a 4:37, which again is a very good mile split and explains why this gap has opened up.
Well, Mo Farah, of course, has been a winner here in the past. He'll be watching on. He was hoping to have taken part again here at the big half in 2021, but sadly the injury that in the end prevented him from making the team for Tokyo hasn't quite healed. 4:37. It really was a surge, wasn't it? He's putting in a really good shift here, is Jake Smith.
Yeah, very, very good. And like you say, it was disappointing not to see Mo competing today as he recovers from that fractured foot. But he's battled so hard in recent times to try and make that Olympic team, even though he had the injuries. And, you know, he's human, he's done the great performances, and when injuries strike, it is really difficult for athletes like Mo even to perform in the way they're capable of. But hopefully we'll see him back running here again one day.
Yes, let's hope so. A reminder that Jake Smith's personal best is 60:31, so almost exactly 10 minutes of running left if he's to challenge that personal best. Meanwhile, behind, 12,000 runners, 24,000 pairs of running shoes, trampling the streets of London. And it's a great feeling, and it's been a while, isn't it, since we've been able to say that. Mass participation, road running, mass events back. This is the biggest mass participation event of any sort since the start of the global pandemic at the beginning of 2020, and it's been done in a very controlled, very safe way with waved starts. Everybody was given a specific window within which they could start. 11 waves of 1,000 runners to give as much space as possible. And here's someone, Joe, who's got plenty of space.
Yeah, she's looking really, really strong. We've just been given an update, unfortunately, from Shelley Woods. Unfortunately, she suffered a puncture and is out of the race, so that's very, very disappointing for Shelley Woods and everyone here who wanted to see her out there performing today. So
Michael McCabe. Michael McCabe coming home in second place. Quite a gap behind the winner of the men's wheelchair race, Sam Kolek, and there he is, just outside 56:40, so comfortably outside his personal best. But we have two men's wheelchair racers home now. Michael McCabe, who is very much one of the rising stars of men's wheelchair racing. So two men's wheelchair racers home, and then confirmation, as Joe was saying, that sadly Shelley Woods, who was very much the favourite for the women's race, out with a puncture.
the last mile that Charlotte Purdue put in was a 5:16, which shows why such a huge gap has opened up. Very quick mile put in there then.
Samantha Harrison still in second place. She's being buffeted along by the club runners in that pack, just disappearing from view, top left of picture. But really, Charlotte Purdue, surely now, barring any major blow-up, has got this race won. Here we are in Greenwich, into the final few hundred metres. And here is Matthew Clark, our third finisher in the men's race. In the end, he couldn't quite reel in Michael McCabe. So Matthew Clark coming home in third place. So we have our top three in the men's race. Almost 58 minutes dead for Michael Clark. So Kolek, the winner in the men's wheelchair race, McCabe in second, and Matthew Clark coming home in third place.
Jake Smith, they went through mile 11 in 52:37, so they're kind of outside 62 minute pace, 62:30 or something. And you know, it's not PB pace for Jake Smith as overall, but it's been very tactical. But the surge he's put in has broken up the field, and you know, he's running a tactical race today and really stamping his authority on this event at the moment.
He looks very businesslike indeed, doesn't he, Jake Smith? So in summary, we have Jake Smith away in the men's race. We have Charlotte Purdue, who's got an ever-increasing lead in the women's race, and we have our top three already home in the men's wheelchairs: Sam Kolek, Michael McCabe and Matthew Clark, the three finishers already in the men's wheelchair race. And we're into the last, what, 6 or 7 minutes of running here for Jake Smith. This would be quite a win for him if he can see this home.
Yeah, I mean, as we said, third Brit on the all-time list. Only the great Mo Farah and Callum Hawkins have ever run quick as far as British athletes are concerned.
And the athlete behind him in the black, as we saw, was Jack Rowe. He's using all that 5K prowess, but this is Well, 69.55, so he's heading for quite a sizable personal best. As things stand, is Jack Rowe in second place there. And still, Jake Smith continues to look behind. He's not settled, has he? He's not absolutely convinced that he's broken Jack Rowe.
Yeah, still looking back, but it looks strong at the moment. But this is a great run by Jack Rowe. Like I say, he's going to get a massive PB.
Charlotte Purdue then a little bit further back. Just starting to look as though she's working a little bit harder. Just starting to rock with the arm carriage there, but she's still looking pretty compact.
Yeah, I mean, she's way ahead now. She put in that last mile 5:15, so she's still been laying on the pace and running extremely well here today. And you know, she's, like we said earlier, she's doing her talking with her running. It looks absolutely fantastic, and it's going to be exciting to see her run that London Marathon on October the 3rd and put in a good performance there, hopefully too.
Well, it's been another quality performance. She's the course record holder, of course, and twice a winner of this race. So to win it for a third time would be pretty special here, given that it's only the fourth running of this event. Jake Smith into the last mile or so of the race. And here is Jack Rowe, who's chasing with Ardan in the blue, just in the distance there. So these three will be the podium as things stand. Rowe in second place, still looking pretty comfortable, isn't he? Still moving nicely.
Yeah, it looks good looking down at his watch there. He's obviously aware of what a great PB he's on for at the moment.
Charlotte Purdue just a little bit further back. Just a reminder that her course record set in 2018 is at 70:29, just outside 70 minutes. And actually conditions, you have to say, today, Joe, although we had rain at the start, it's dried out nicely. Cool conditions, pretty good.
And it's not particularly windy today, is it? And I remember watching Charlotte running one of the performances before, and the wind did affect her time a bit. And it is a calm day today, and you know, maybe it's possible she'll get close to that course record. She's really picking up the pace, and you know, those 2 miles 5:16 followed by 5:15 has really decimated the rest of the field at the moment. And there, Jake Smith still looking strong. It looks like he's working a little bit now, like you were saying, Chris, but still looking very strong. And Jack Rowe going strongly there as well in second place.
Yeah, don't be fooled by the foreshortening of those pictures. That is still quite a comfortable lead, but Jake Smith,
he's still looking around. I think his coach may have something to say about that, but he looks great. But you know, as I say, sometimes they advise not to do that because you're implying that maybe you're not feeling good. But he's done that from making his move, and he just seems to want to know what's going on behind him, which is understandable. But don't worry, Jake, you're really doing well, and you've got a good lead there. And he takes a look down at his watch, and he's executing this race fantastically. Well, just 4 or 5 minutes away from reaching the finish line here, into the latter stages, coming into Greenwich, Deptford on the lower road, and then the finish really arrives pretty quickly. Actually, it's quite a sharp couple of left bends, and all of a sudden then Cutty Sark looms into view. But there we're looking at the top two in the men's race, and Jake Smith, as he gets closer and closer to the finish line, his cadence, I'm sure, will increase, and he'll get the sight of the finish area. He'll be able to pick up the tannoy, and still again Joey continues to look behind. And we've been given the times for the men's wheelchair race. Sam Kolak, brilliant performance, winning the race in 50 minutes 37. Second, Michael McCabe in 56:42, and third, Matthew Clark in 58:01. Well, we can hear him there quite clearly. How far? He's just keen to know how far. How far? Well, he's got another, 2 or 3 minutes of running here. He's into the last mile. He's into Deptford. And you just wonder whether, Joe, that's quite unusual, isn't it? To hear a runner shouting out. Charlotte Purdue, meanwhile, keeping her powder dry. Yeah, still running really well. Went through mile 11 at 58:44, putting in another fast mile of 5:20 pace, which means she's just under the 70-minute mark at the moment for pace. And a very, very strong performance here by Charlotte. Totally great to see.
Well, if that's the case, then the course record is on. Jake Smith, you just feel he's never really entirely settled as he hit the front. It was a decisive break physically, but mentally his body language suggests that he wasn't entirely convinced, that in his own mind he hadn't perhaps done quite enough as we enter the second hour. So an hour on the clock, and he is well into the last mile of the 13.1 miles, entering Deptford and then into Greenwich.
I mean, Jake, you know, he's still only 23 years old, which you forget by the fantastic performances that he's already run. And yeah, he was asking someone in the crowd then how far. You know, he's gaining in confidence, and you know, he's still only 23 years old in that he hasn't done lots and lots of races, and he's pushing the pace and he's looking great. He's still looking behind, but you know, somebody's telling him you're doing well, you don't need to look behind, just focus on what you're doing, because he's starting to look a little bit more distressed now. But it's another fantastic run now.
Well, this is extraordinary. Very rarely do you see and hear a runner asking so frequently. He's obviously not familiar with the course, which is quite understandable. He's not based in London. He will have looked at the course map, but it's one thing looking at a map, Joe, isn't it? Another thing actually feeling the road and knowing intimately each twist and turn.
Yeah, and he's obviously feeling a little bit anxious here. He's starting to feel the strain in these later stages, and maybe he felt that the finish was coming sooner than he thought, because he's wondering how far it's the finish by the way he's shouting that out. But you know, he's doing really well. He just needs to keep focused and try and keep relaxed, because when you get tensed up, that's when your body gets even more distressed. You start to lose your running form. He just needs to try and keep his form relaxed and focus on pushing ahead.
Final push here. He's almost home. He's into the centre of Greenwich. Very familiar scenes here. He doesn't need to look around now. Surely he's got the job done. You can hear the tannoy, the PA announcer, bringing him home. The crowds rise, and Jake Smith, the rising star of British marathon running, has got the job done. There he is, just outside 62 minutes, and Jake Smith, now he can relax. He wins the big half, a big performance in the big half, and in the end Jack Rowe came and pushed him close, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, first two home, winning Jake Smith, waiting for the official time. Jack Rowe in second, and there is Mo Adan, who is going to come through for third place.
That's fantastic. Great run by Jake Smith. Brilliant performance, absolutely brilliant PB by Jack Rowe, and great to see Mo Adan coming in there in third place. Well done to the top three runners there, absolutely brilliant.
Now, Nikki Emerson coming through just behind them in the women's wheelchair race, so big smile on her face.
Yeah, well done Nikki Emerson, great performance.
And that looked like the debutant there, Phil Seisman from Leeds, coming home in fourth place in the men's race. We'll get confirmation of that, but Nikki Emerson coming through. So we have the top three in the men's race home. We have the men's wheelchair top three home as well. The first woman in the wheelchair is also through with Nikki Emerson, and now Charlotte Purdue very much on her way, on course for a course record, 70:29. Remember, her own course record set in 2018. Can she come inside that? She hasn't got to do any looking around. She's got a massive lead, an ever-increasing lead over the rest of the field, and it's been a really polished, comfortable performance by Charlotte Purdue today.
Yeah, it's been a brilliant example of distance running, really controlled, never looked like there was any doubt that she was going to produce the performance that she thought she could today. She said her training had gone well, and all credit to her mental strength as well, going through those disappointments and managing to keep so focused on looking ahead, looking to getting out there and racing well and doing her talking out there on the road. And it's just brilliant to see her back running the way she's capable of running, and so we look forward to not only watching her in the London Marathon, but also just going forward and running some fantastic races going forward, hoping she can make that Olympic team next time round too. So well done, Charlotte. It's brilliant to see her running so well here today.
Just under 6 minutes of running if she's to get inside her own course record. She's in Deptford, and the final few 100 metres just lie ahead here. Charlotte Purdue heading for a third victory in this event, the big half. It's been kind to her. but she's just regrouped after that disappointment of not making the Olympic team. A real message, perhaps in the nicest possible way, to the selectors, just to say, don't you forget about me. Look at that, 5:13 through the 12th mile.
Yeah, she's well on target to get that course record, I think. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing, isn't it, at this stage of the race? She just puts in a 5:13. It just illustrates the sort of form that Charlotte Purdue is in, not only today, but going forward, looking great, getting in shape for that London Marathon. I think she's on for a big performance there too. And yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Just under 5 minutes of running or thereabouts for Charlotte Purdue on the streets of London in wonderful conditions, no wind at all, cool, perfect for running the half marathon distance. Don't forget, we've got the big relay coming up later on. We've got other events as well as part of this festival of running over the weekend. We've had the men. Jake Smith, if you're just joining us, has come through with a really impressive performance. The youngster is home in the men's race, and Charlotte Purdue, a two-time winner here, is on her way not just to a third victory but also to a possible course record, and really laying down the hammer here. She's got her foot on the pedal here, Joe.
Yeah, she's not letting up, is she? She's well aware that she's on for a good time, and she's really putting in the boot now. She looks focused like she always has done, but she's not resting on her laurels of winning this race. She's pushing on now for a fast time.
Well, 200 metres to go, or 20 kilometres I should say, so just over a kilometre to go, and she knows now that she's certainly got the victory secure. It's all about the time now, and it shouldn't matter, but she's a professional athlete. She will want, and she will know that she's on for a course record. Her personal best, by the way, as Joe mentioned, 68.09 from the Great North Run, but because of the nature of that course, it's not recognised as a record for record purposes because of the nature of the way it starts and finishes.
It's funny though, because when you're running it, it is a fairly tough course though, even though they say it's not elite, because obviously you've got the ups and downs, and it's a fantastic event obviously, but it can be quite tough, so you'd think it would be allowed, wouldn't you, really? Especially
when you get to the sea, of course, and you do that sharp left turn, and you think, oh, I'm almost there, but you've still got, over a mile to go.
But yeah,
very deceptive.
Always exciting finish there.
It is. Very different conditions here, though, on the streets of London. Charlotte Purdue, then, has, 2 3/4 minutes to get inside that course record. She's on course for it. She's looking very, very determined indeed, working really, really hard. The victory is secure. It's been in the back pocket for some time now. And Charlotte Purdue just wiping away a little bit of perspiration from her face there. But that familiar, really compact running style has been there, hasn't really changed throughout. The cadence has been pretty good, hasn't it? Relaxed in the shoulders, mouth slightly open, but again, it hasn't really changed. She looks exactly the same as she did earlier in the race.
You're right, Chris. She's great at maintaining her composure, isn't she? She never looks tense and stressed at the end of the event. She just keeps composed, keeps looking ahead of her, keeps relaxed, and executes those performances. Absolutely brilliant.
So down this little incline here on Evelyn Street, and she will soon come into Greenwich. There we are, 500 metres to go, just over a lap of the track in track terms, and now she can really pile it on, and it depends by how much she wants to try and beat this course record. 70.29, remember, so 1:10.29 is the course record held by Charlotte Purdue herself. And she has 400 metres, so about a lap of the track to go. And she should come inside pretty comfortably here. It's been a brilliant, brilliant performance from Charlotte Purdue.
Yeah, it certainly has, and I'm sure she's well aware that she's going to be able to get inside her own course record, and she's pushing on strongly there. And I'm just so pleased for her, and so pleased she's been able to get out there and show what great form she's in. Absolutely brilliant.
200 metres to go, and the crowd's thickening. She'll hear the PA as she turns a left corner once again. There are a couple of bends to go, but here she comes into the final few metres of this course. 70.29, remember. She's got about a minute to get home, and she's going to do it comfortably. And Greenwich rises to greet Charlotte Purdue, coming home here for a third victory. winner in 2018, winner in 2019, and once again, Charlotte Purdue, small in stature, but a huge performance here, comes home for the third time in a course record, just inside 70 minutes. It's a big, big course record, and now she can smile. Job done. Charlotte Purdue is back.
Yeah, nice to see her smile there after everything she's been through over the last 12 months. Absolutely brilliant.
Just getting told, I think, as if she needed to be, that it's a course record. We'll bring you official confirmation of that time as soon as we can, but it was certainly under 70 minutes, and that's a great performance. Samantha Harrison, who was with her shoulder to shoulder, has rallied well, and look at that, lengthening her stride in the last few metres. And Samantha Smith, Harrison I should say, who was second last year, is second again this year, just outside 70.35. So that's again an improvement on her time from last year. Samantha Harrison, who was second last year to Lily Partridge on that occasion, second again. And now another one of the wheelchair athletes coming home.
And that's Martina Snopek.
Yeah, Martina Snopek coming through in just outside 71 minutes. So the elite athletes here, able-bodied and wheelchair, finishing thick and fast here. But the story of the women's race, Charlotte Purdue winning for the third time in a new course record. Samantha Harrison in second place. And, well, all the stories still unfolding on the streets of London. 11.
People waving at the camera.
Yeah, and why not? Why not? It's been a long time coming, hasn't it? 11 to 12,000 runners out there on the course, each with their own motivation for running, raising money for worthy causes, perhaps running in memory of loved ones lost, sadly, over the last year or so. It's been a very, very emotional last couple of years. And here we can see some of the... this is still very good club runner territory, isn't it?
The crowd being informed that Charlotte Purdue has indeed got that course record, so they'll be all thrilled for her.
Well, it's quite a sight, and it's quite a view as well, as you see the iconic T-Clipper coming in. And is this Natasha Cockram coming through? It is indeed. Natasha Cockram, who had such a great London Marathon last October, is going to come through in third place and complete our podium in the women's race. Natasha Cockram coming home in just under 73 minutes.
Yeah, good run from Natasha.
Still plenty of running. These are the runners over on Tower Bridge. They're just into the second half of the race, but they won't care. There's no pressure. It's just great to be out running back on the streets of London again in pretty good conditions.
And the camaraderie they all feel with other runners around them be absolutely brilliant for them all out there today. Now we've seen Natasha Cockram, good run. I mean, they're all looking great for getting ready for that London Marathon, and this race has been an important part of their preparation. And here we see the masses out again, you know, just so lovely to see, isn't it? We've really missed this, and you know, the organisers of Vitality Big Half, all the London Marathon events that have been put on, it's just absolutely brilliant what has been done to allow these races to start to take place now. It's really great to see.
It is, and we've got a lovely mixture of the elite runners, of course. We've been following them for the last hour or so. These runners just going through 9 miles. We've got championship runners, good club runners as well, as always. We've got community runners, people from the boroughs. We've also got local residents, so a certain percentage of the places today in this race were given over to runners from the 4 boroughs that are represented here. The course goes through the 4 boroughs of London here.
Yeah, and this event really does support the community. Community places have been given to runners at a very, very reduced rate. They've been able to enter this race for £10, which is, you know, making this event really accessible to so many runners. And we just want to send the message out there, don't we, for these running events, that running is inclusive to everybody. All the benefits on physical and mental health that running can give, and it's a really positive message to send out, I think, with events like this.
So let's just confirm the results for the elite races. Charlotte Purdue there coming home in the women's race in a new course record. Jake Smith winning the men's race. Pushed all the way, I have to say, by Jack Rowe, and he was never entirely convinced until he entered the final few metres of the race that he'd done it. Mo Adan there coming through in third, as he did in the Olympic qualifying last year in Kew Gardens. Samantha Harrison finishing second in the women's race for the second year running, and Natasha Cochran, who had that fine race in the London Marathon last October in the London Marathon, coming home for third to complete the podium in the men's and women's races.
So here we are on the finish line. We are in Greenwich on the banks of the Thames, and the elite runners, well, they finished now. Most of them have finished, but there's still thousands of runners still out there, and we would love, and I'm sure they would love, your support. So on social media, if you could use the hashtag #BigHalf, so hashtag #BigHalf, and we'll send the messages along, and I'm sure they'll love your support. Right, it wouldn't be a big half if we didn't speak to some EastEnders. So I believe Amy is with some of the cast.
I am now joined by the EastEnders crew. Scott, good morning. How are you feeling ahead of today's race?
Well, I'm really excited. I'm thrilled that big runs are happening again. I'm thrilled that spectators can come out, support their loved ones who are taking part. And yeah, I'm ready for it. I'm just kind of shocked that I'm still running. So, I did my first marathon 2 years ago, 2019, for the Dementia Revolution. And it's just something that really got me, and I got really hooked on running, which I love now. And it's also got me through some really, really difficult times over the past 2 years. So as well as doing some good, raising some money for charity, I've just become an ambassador for Alzheimer's Research UK, which I'm really, really honoured to be a part of. And today is about saying thank you to everyone who's been sponsoring me last year before the run got cancelled, of course. But yeah, I'm here to keep it going and, for my part, hopefully help to find a cure for Alzheimer's and dementia.
Absolutely phenomenal. It is so good to have you back out here. You well and truly have got that running bug, and I'm joined by Tanya, who also appears to have that running bug. Tanya, can you tell us a little bit about the charity you're running for today?
Yeah, I'm running for Alzheimer's Research UK, who my stepfather has Alzheimer's, so it's something that's very dear to my heart. And it's an amazing charity that raises money to find a cure for Alzheimer's and dementia, but also to raise awareness on prevention as well. So it's massive to me, and I just want to raise as much sponsorship as I can. I'm also doing it this year as well, the marathon this year, in honour of people that sponsored me last year, of course, when we couldn't run the marathon. So it's big for me.
It's so good to have you out here. It really seems like you guys have that bug. But we're also joined by Toby. Toby,
how you doing?
Rumour has it that this is your first half marathon.
It is my first half marathon, yeah. So I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself. I'm just going to take it in. It's just great to be here. And I'm just looking forward to it, the atmosphere and just soaking it all up.
Amazing. And you're doing London as well.
What's
doing London. The plan with timing today? You going on now? Or?
I mean, I might do. I might see how well I do, but there's no pressure. I just want to sort of use this as my training for the marathon, which I'm doing for Women's Aid in October, a very special charity that's close to my heart. So,
wicked. Well, all the best, and we'll see you at the start line.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Well, great to see the EastEnders cast being represented, as they have been pretty much every year, I have to say. And Joe, you've got some experience of working very closely with one of those two runners.
Yeah, I had the massive honour of doing a training session with the EastEnders runners before they took part in the London Marathon in 2019, and absolutely wonderful people, Tanya Franks and obviously the lovely Scott Mitchell, the husband of the late Dame Barbara Windsor, running for Dementia Revolutions. And they were such lovely people and so determined, and yeah, it was a real honour to be involved in a little bit of their training in the lead up to the event.
So these runners coming over thick and fast. A reminder that they started in waves of 1,000 at a time, just to maximise social distancing. Mass participation running, of course, across the world has been almost impossible for the last 18 months or so for obvious reasons, and just to have an event being put on securely and safely is a huge achievement, and we should pay tribute, as always, to the organisers at the London Marathon and at Vitality to get this big half going.
It's great to see so many runners pounding the streets of London, and 2021 has been a landmark year for the London Marathon Charitable Trust as it celebrates its 40th anniversary. The trust was set up in 1981 to distribute the profits from London Marathon events, including the Big Half, to fund projects that would inspire millions of children and adults across the UK to lead an active and healthy life. Over the past 40 years, it's delivered grants of more than £93 million to more than 1,490 projects across London and the UK. One such project is the Stonebridge Boxing Club, home of one of the UK's leading boxing prospects, Mikael Lawal.
In everyone's lives, their mums usually always come first. You know, she was just such a nice person. Like, she was very giving. I loved her. Like, I knew who she was. I was 13 when she died, and she was just trying to make a better life for me and my siblings. And just the fact that she was trying to do that, and she did that for all the years that she was with me. Yeah, I just appreciate her so much. She died. You know, that was really hard for me. Went back to my nan's. In her mind, she thought, oh, maybe the best thing was for me to go meet my real father back home in Nigeria. I was living with him and my stepmom, and she would like tell lies on me and basically get me beaten up by my dad. I got so tired of it, I ran away from home, and I found myself living on the streets of Lagos, Nigeria, having to beg for scraps of food. It's not a nice thing to ever go through. Really happy when I finally was able to get back to the UK, but that obviously came with like a whole new load of new problems. Started getting up to no good things like robberies, you know, drugs, all that kind of stuff. That's when I saw Stonebridge Boxing Club. When I walked into Stonebridge Boxing Club the first day, it felt like out of a scene out of Rocky. Like, it's raw, but you know, that's what you just need. Like, it was just a proper good boxing environment. A nice foundation for a lot of these kids too, like just to come back to get off the streets. It's helped me out so much because I'm off the streets. I've got a family to come back to. If it wasn't for Ali and Stonebridge Boxing Club, I probably would still be on the streets. I want to become British champion, the European champion and world champion. I really believe I'm gonna make it, like, and like I have to, like, for my kids, for my family. My mom's watching over me, and I keep saying that because I really do believe that she is.
I am with Catherine Anderson, London Marathon Charitable Events Executive Director. Catherine, now, hello. 2021 has been a really special year for the Trust. Tell us about some of the highlights.
So this is a really special year for the London Marathon Charitable Trust. It's our 40th anniversary. If you've ever run the marathon or bequeathed a place in the ballot, you have supported the London Marathon Charitable Trust, and in 40 years we've given you know, around £95 million to around 1,500 projects inspiring activity in and around London and areas where we put on events. So this is a really, really big year for us, and we're thrilled to be here for this massive event today.
It's so good to have live sport back. Tell us about some of the hopes and potential hurdles in the coming years to come for the Trust.
So, you know, the Trust exists through the vision of the founders of the London Marathon, John Disley and Chris Brasher, who said that, you know, the marathon would always help enable people to get active, to tackle barriers to activity, and that's what we've been doing for 40 years. So obviously we depend on the marathon, we depend on mass participation events, we depend on races like this in order to generate the funds so that we can, you know, make investments in activity in and around London. So hopes for the future, obviously that, you know, running events continue to get bigger and stronger as the years go on, and that we continue to generate the income for the Trust so that we can just keep putting that money back into communities in London. You know, we've funded from, you know, every single London borough has benefited from our investment. That's all thanks to our events, and we hope to just do that and keep doing that in the years to come. So obviously the big hurdle is, you know, COVID, post-COVID, what's going to happen to running events. So, you know, this is a really fantastic symbol, and I think positive harbinger of what's going to happen in the future. So
fingers crossed. What an absolute spectacle down here today, here at the finish line. Well, thank you so much and good luck for the years to come.
Thank you. Thanks, Amy.
Well, runners still out on the course, thick and fast over Tower Bridge. These are among 12,000 runners taking part in this 4th edition of the Big Half. It's the biggest mass participation event since the start of the pandemic, and isn't it great to see so many runners, each with their own story, each with their own objective, out on the course, and great to hear about the fantastic work that the London Marathon Trust does in helping worthy causes, not just in London but all over the world.
Yeah, it's brilliant how the Trust has inspired people to get active, not just through running, but funding things such as a BMX track in Peckham, which supported our brilliant silver BMX medal from Kai White at the Olympics, and, you know, basketball club in Lewisham. And also they put so much money into British endurance running. They had 11 of the 30 endurance runners selected for Tokyo were funded by the London Marathon, and they fund the hubs at Leeds, Beckett University and Birmingham University, and they put so much into elite distance running, but also community projects and inspiring people of all walks of life to get active and to enjoy the benefits both to physical and mental health of getting active. So absolutely brilliant to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the London Marathon Charitable Trust.
These the runners coming home over the finish line. We're just approaching an hour and a half since the gun went off at 8:30 this morning on the highway just next to Tower Bridge, and here they are finishing in front of the iconic T-Clipper, the Cutty Sark. And these runners just have just over a mile to go, and it really is wonderful to see. We should also mention that London Marathon Events helps and supports around 30 elite runners in different ways now, directly rather than through a central pot of funding, and it just allows people, Joe, and you'll appreciate this, runners who perhaps just fall outside the elite podium funding, allows them to go on winter training camps and helps with physio and all those sorts of things.
It does, the training camps, the physio support, and as I was saying, 11 of the 30 endurance runners selected for Tokyo were supported by the London Marathon. These are athletes who didn't get funding from any other means than from British Athletics. They fell outside those places, and to see how well they've done with help from the support of the London Marathon is great to see. Here you see many runners out there pushing towards personal bests and soaking up the atmosphere, a lot of them with smiles on their faces, and they'll just be enjoying this opportunity out there today. And obviously James Cracknell fitting in the race between Stag Do one weekend, the race, and then his wedding next weekend. So I wonder how his time fared today.
I wonder. He's never a man to relax, is he, at all? James Cracknell, always on with something, pushing and squeezing every last drop of everything out of his life, and great to see him back running as well. And as you say, getting married next weekend. Nice little aperitif there for that. The sight and sound of running shoes on tarmac, it's great to see it back. It really is.
We also have Rob Deering out there, famous comedian who does the running commentary podcast with his friend, fellow comedian Paul Tonkinson. I had the honour of going on their podcast recently. I had good fun running with Paul along the Grand Western Canal. But yeah, I hope Rob's having a good run out there today.
Well, this race, of course, has taken meticulous planning and organisation. And, of course, the man at the heart of that is the director of the London Marathon, event director here of the Vitality Big Half. His name, of course, is Hugh Brasher, and he's now with Amy.
I am now joined by event director Hugh Brasher. Hugh, we are back, and we are back with a bang. Over 10,000 runners running today. How did you make this happen?
Well, look, the team have done an absolutely amazing job working with the public health authorities, changing procedures to what you would normally do. But it's so important that we do come back. Running is a really positive thing for people's physical health and their mental health. And over the last 17 months, we have so missed it. This was one of the last events that we did in 2020, 1st of March 2020. So it's been an awfully long time to come back to this. And we're now 6 weeks away from the London Marathon on the 3rd of October. And it's just great to be here.
Quite a nice little test run ahead of the London Marathon. You touched on mental health and the impact and how important running is and how it can contribute to that. Looking ahead, how can we ensure mass participation events like this do continue?
Yeah, well, look, we've been working with the government. We were part of the Events Research Programme. We did an event at Kempton Park back in May. We've done another one at Hatfield. And this is the journey that we're on. And the data shows we're outside. Outside is best. And so we're outside. We give people more room on the course running. And it is, we are human beings. We want to be together. For our mental health, the anxiety that we have had has been huge. But the more that we do this, the more it will show that it's safe to do. It is really good for people's health, and it's just so good to be here.
It is so good to be back. A massive congratulations to you and all of the team. London, well and truly, is back alive.
Thank you.
What a great scene. Well over 10,000 runners of all backgrounds running the streets of London together, running as one. There are many community running groups right across London, and they have a vital role to play in making sure that running is for everyone. And one of these is the Outrunners Running Club from Hackney.
It literally started off just through word of mouth. So I think in the beginning we only had about 3 or 4 runners. And then it just grew. Now we've got about 150 active runners which come to one of our 2 running groups. What I always wanted to do when I set up the Outrunners was like create better community cohesion. You know, we put all of our mentors and our volunteers through like a training program. And one of the things that I've always kind of seen as, you know, something that I wanted to achieve was, you know, a young person knowing somebody from their local area that they wouldn't normally know or have a conversation with, and having a space to do something, you know, as good for you as exercise together, I think is really, really important.
Not many people, well, I don't know that many people who can say they're part of a running club. So I think it's a nice thing to be part of, or have under you, like have as a label of something you do as well. Like, it's just nice to be a part of something or feel like you belong somewhere.
Tyler's a good teacher because he tells us how far you should run and how fast you should run.
Every Monday I'm always ready, come prepared, wear the t-shirt and just represent Outrunners.
So my main reason for doing this really is because my background is in working with young people in education. So when we started the program, we asked them, what do you want the program to be about? And they've just said, we like running, but we just don't want to do running. We want to do loads of things. So we've made sure that we've packed the program with loads of different activities. So there's loads of people around the community who offer their services for free, which is really, really amazing. So they love it. So they love the boxing. They love everything because they turn up week in, week out, even when it's raining.
Darren has helped me in multiple ways. One of the ways, obviously, exercise. Another one of the areas is mentally, I'd say. After the COVID pandemic, it's been like really hard to be motivated to do a lot of things, and to see something like Outrunners be set up is just amazing. It's helped me personally. I know it's helped a lot of people I'm friends with as well. And it's just a lifesaver, like a miracle.
For me, lockdown was really difficult. And I've never been one to like go out running on my own or go out cycling until after lockdown, when I kind of realised how important it is to have that freedom. So having the opportunity to, you know, be able to meet people in groups and feel safe, and you don't appreciate it until you lose it. So yeah, I love it.
For me, it's one of the most amazing things that I definitely love to see, kind of, you know, from starting the Outrunners to seeing all of the young people. I'm so proud. I mean, you know, it's definitely a labour of love. You know, put a lot of my time and energy into it, and I think it's definitely something that, you know, because I've set that up myself, like the sense of achievement that I get when I see young people enjoying themselves, or I can see that community cohesion starting to happen, or, you know, I can see, you know, how we've supported a young person getting into a particular college or university. You know, the sense of achievement that I get from that is just something that, you know, I can't really explain, you know, but it makes me feel very warm inside.
Truly, truly inspiring, and a real heartwarming story there. Meanwhile, out on the streets of London, still business to be attended to here. For many people, this will be an alternative to their normal Sunday run. Always adds an extra little bit of edge, doesn't it, Joe, when you're actually in an event, you've got an official number on your front, it all feels a bit official and maybe puts an extra little spring in your step.
Yeah, I mean, you can always produce a better run. Unfortunately, someone there struggling, being helped with the stewards there, but sad to see. I hope he'll be okay. But yeah, definitely running in events with lots of runners really brings you on, gets you to those times, you get the camaraderie of people running around you, and people definitely need this at the moment after being away from these events for so long.
Sprint finish coming in here. We should say that the big half here, which is the centrepiece of this day today, is just one of several events. We've also got the New Balance big relay going, which enables teams of up to 4 people to run the half marathon distance in stages, different legs.
It's absolutely great because it gives the opportunity people that are maybe new to running, don't fancy running the whole distance. There's 4 legs, the first one being 3.5 miles, the second one being 1 mile, the third one being 3.9 miles, and the fourth leg being 4.7. So you can choose which one suits you. Maybe, you know, people run out there with family members, work colleagues, and good introduction to running. People maybe after that will maybe fancy the whole distance next year, maybe.
Yeah, it's a great way and an introduction to get involved and maybe use the relay as a transition to doing the individual event. Great way for colleagues or teams of people from different companies, or even just a group of friends or even family to get involved today. And as you can see, we've got good luck messages coming in from all over the place for runners out on the course today. So we'll be recapping the results of the elite races a little bit later on, but still plenty of runners out on the course. Also got the Vitality Big Mile coming up later on. We'll bring you news of that. And you have to say the conditions today have been pretty good, haven't they, given the awful weather we've had in the last few weeks here, particularly in London. It's been a lot of rain, but today the early rain at the start disappeared, and the lack of wind, Joe, I think was a particular help.
Yeah, good conditions out there today for distance running, so hopefully a lot of these runners will come away with good PBs today.
Over the past 18 months, COVID has affected, well, all of us, but maybe those in particular that live alone in our inner cities across the UK. And one of those people is Sharifa.
I'm Sharifa, I live in East London. I'm a model, presenter, mental health activist, body positive activist. I also work on Instagram a lot, helping to encourage people to donate, get involved in their different fundraising events, and I'm a runner. Lockdown was difficult, but I think it was definitely made worse by catching COVID and living alone. I think I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. The isolation of being alone in a tiny flat and your work being cancelled, so not knowing if you can even pay your bills to afford the tiny flat. My sister pointed out to me that isolation is a form of punishment in prisons, and I really did feel that way when it was so cold and dark and the COVID numbers were rising in January, that really difficult period. I think it was incredibly mentally challenging. My mental health felt that. It was really difficult. I think the loneliness, it got a bit much at times. My family, they don't live anywhere near me. A lot of my friends don't live near me. A lot of them left London, so I think I only had one person I could go on walks with occasionally, so I did spend most of the year by myself. It was definitely a hard year, and mental health-wise, it was extremely challenging, but I do feel like I've come out of the other side much stronger. I mean, I'll never forget that time in our lives. I don't think any of us will. The Big Half to me is an amazing opportunity there are so many different communities that come together. Running is not just for one type of person. Running is for everybody. Different sizes, different shapes, different races, genders. I can feel London's spirit coming back. So the Big Half is going to be the most amazing way for us to all come together, doing what we love, supporting the charities who have unfortunately lost so much money this year due to these events not being able to go ahead. So it's going to be an amazing way for us to all support the charities that we love, fundraise for our causes, be together and achieve something and feel great about it. I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. For me, running has never been about telling people I ran this really fast. I know for lots of people that is their goal, but for me it's just taking part, doing it, crossing the finish line, getting that medal, hanging it on my wall and saying, I can do it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. I mean, I'm a size 18 woman, and I think people have said that running maybe is not for me because of the representations we have of runners generally, but I like to say, well, I can do it. Anyone can do it. If I can do it, you can do it.
Sharifa Radford there. What an inspiring story, and perhaps some inspiration to millions of people all over the country. Still they come home, Joe. Great to see. Still a healthy number coming over the finish line.
Yeah, people putting in their sprint finish at the end, working towards those PBs. Lots of people working hard now, but also lots of smiling faces.
So important to keep hydrated. Water stations, always important to refuel. And great to see friends and family supporting. Having some noise does make a difference. We've been having events in empty stadia, haven't we, in empty streets. Great to hear the noise of crowds back.
Yeah, I expect those kids are probably enjoying watching a family member out there today. Not had that opportunity for a while. Also, I'll let run Kirsty Hovels. There's some support there for her today. That's brilliant. Their smiling faces as they come in, isn't it lovely to see? Everyone really appreciates what this means today. Another great supporter there. Look, nice seating position there.
Yeah, great vantage
cheering
point.
Everyone on.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll give people a taste for perhaps going on to bigger things, bigger distances. Tower Bridge, of course, at the centre of this race, as it is in the opposite direction, of course, in the London Marathon. This goes from north to south. In the London Marathon, it goes south to north, but it's the same bridge, and it feels great to go over that iconic landmark in London.
Yeah, a lot of runners here today will be using this event not only to get a good time, but also as an important part of their preparation for that London Marathon on October the 3rd.
Yeah, just 6 weeks away. Great North Run, of course, in the calendar, and the organisers of different events across the country have really worked very impressively in collaboration with each other. They often are seen as rivals in promoting different events all over the country, but they've come together for the common good, really, given these extraordinary times we've been living in, to get these races back up and running as safely and effectively as possible.
Yeah, it's brilliant how the organisers of different events really have got together to make sure these sort of events can take place again, which everyone loves to see.
Familiar sight of people craning their necks behind barriers. It's great. There is the entrance to the Greenwich Foot Tunnel, which, if you're not familiar with it, goes under. You go down lots of steps and then under a tunnel under the River Thames, and you resurface on the north of the river.
just caught sight of the banners of this year's campaign, which is We Run as One, really saying we run to be free, we run for equality, and we run for our physical and mental health. And that's a really good, strong message that this event is trying to put out there today, to empower runners of all backgrounds, really, to be able to enjoy the massive benefits of getting out and running.
And the wall of noise that greets you when you enter the final 100 metres puts hairs on the back of your neck. It really does. These runners still with a little way to go, but the elite are safely home. They will have got into some warm, dry clothes, I'm sure. 11 miles. They've got a couple more to go.
Somebody got the energy to stick their tongue out there.
So let's just recap and take stock of the elite action we've seen today on this Sunday morning, starting with the wheelchairs. Here's how they got underway with Shelley Woods, their centre of picture, on her return. Sadly, she picked up a puncture early on in the race, and the men's race was won in the end by Sam Kolek, coming home in 50.37. It was a sizable lead. Nikki Emerson took the women's race, having finished third in 2018. There are two winners on the podium in the wheelchair races today. So congratulations to Nikki Emerson and Sam Kolek. There are the full top three in both races. Michael McCabe, who perhaps will have been a little bit disappointed to have been so far behind, nearly 6 minutes off the winner. Nikki Emerson coming through comfortably. So let's hear from our winners, let's hear what they had to say. They are now standing by with Amy.
Please keep on moving through the funnel, following the instructions of all of our helpful staff.
I am with your wheelchair race winners, Stan Kolek and Nikki Emerson. Nikki, we chatted earlier and you told me this was your first race back in 3 years and you've just taken the win. How was it out there?
It was amazing to be back on the roads. I'm from London, so to race at home and for this to be my first race back was just phenomenal. And just seeing everyone and hearing all the cheering made you realise why you do it. It was fantastic.
How are the hands feeling after that?
Small cut, but you know, not too bad. A few blisters.
Casual, we'll take it. And Stan, how was it for you out there today?
Yeah, it was great. Felt great to be back on the road, racing again, having crowds, people cheering up. Really good feeling. I couldn't imagine how much I missed it, really.
And how much of a difference does that atmosphere make?
Oh, it's to be honest, it just flew like that. When I seen 20-mile marks, I was like, hey, is it really? Jesus. So yeah, it had a big impact on my feeling today. So I felt really good. Yeah.
Epic. Well, congratulations. It's good to hear. The atmosphere certainly worked. And we have to ask, your time, are you happy with it?
I don't know what it is, sorry. So if someone tells me what it is, I'm sure I will be. You know what, it's all about the position on the podium, isn't it?
Well, it was rapid. Thank you so much, guys, and a massive congratulations to you both.
Well, Nikki Emerson, if you're watching, 67.38, I can tell you. Now then, the women's race got underway at 8:30. Charlotte Purdue and Samantha Harrison made the early running. Charlotte Purdue bitterly disappointed, of course, to be omitted from the Olympic team. With a point to prove, perhaps, she made her break decisively in the end and came home in a new course record of 69.51 for her third victory in 4 years in the big half. Brilliant performance by the diminutive Charlotte Purdue. So there are top three. Samantha Harrison coming home in 70.40, and a little bit further back, Natasha Cockram, who had that fine run in London last October. So Purdue, Harrison and Cockram are top three, and let's hear from them now. They are with Amy.
I am standing with your elite race women's runner, Charlotte Purdue. First race back. How was it to be back in the mix? You've won this race 3 out of 4 times you've entered. That's pretty good odds.
Yeah, this is my third time doing it and my third time winning the race. I missed it in 2020, so yeah, it's good to be back, and yeah, good to be back running with the crowd and everything.
And quite a record time today. Were you happy with that?
Yeah, I was happy with the time. I wasn't really looking at the time. I was more like wanted to do just kind of race it and see how I felt. But yeah, I've been training really hard for London Marathon, so I wasn't sure how tired I would be, but I felt okay. So yeah.
Absolutely smashed it. And how good is it just to be back running with an atmosphere, a crowd?
Yeah, so good. I mean, I haven't actually raced in 17 months because I've been injured. So I actually didn't race without a crowd, so it doesn't really feel any different to me. But yeah, it's good to have like an atmosphere again.
And we have to say, you did quite casually just break the course record. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it was cool. It's my own course record, so it was cool to break it again, and yeah, come back like for my first race back and yeah, run a good time.
Absolutely phenomenal. And plans off the back of this, London Marathon, 6 weeks away. How do you approach that?
Yeah, I'm training pretty hard right now, so my main aim is 1, don't get injured, and number 2, yeah, keep just consistency and get to the start line healthy and ready to go.
Epic. Well, a massive, massive congratulations today, and all the best of luck for the London Marathon.
Thank you.
Here, yes.
Thanks.
All the best to Charlotte Purdue. Now then, the men's race. Jake Smith, one of the rising stars, there he was. And we had a group of 4, didn't we, with Mo Adam. But at 9 miles, Jake Smith made his break, but he kept on looking behind. He wasn't entirely sure, and with good reason, because Jack Rowe, who was having a storming run, narrowed the gap in the end to just 5 seconds. There he is, fast approaching. Jake Smith coming home in 62.06. And it was a bit of a nervy finish in the end, but Jake Smith gets the win. The 23-year-old, the 3rd fastest half marathon runner in British history. And so our top 3 looks like this. Jake Smith coming home just 5 seconds in the end ahead of Jack Rowe. Mo Arden coming home in 3rd place. So a brilliant win for Jake Smith, with some relief, I'm sure. Let's get his thoughts now. He's with Amy.
Your shoes are amazing.
Thank you, I did it myself.
I am standing with the elite men's winner, Jake Smith. You ran this event last year, you've taken the win this year. How does it feel?
Oh, it's absolutely incredible. I just can't, I came into this race, it's like the fastest, and there was the pressure, but just almost to deliver and to come away with the win is just amazing. I'm so happy.
How did you deal with that pressure going into today?
It was scary. You start on the start line, and I've never gone into a race where they bring you forwards. So I was standing there, I was like, I don't know what to do. So I think I just did like a love heart or something. But yeah, it was great. I just put my head down. I was like, you know what? I knew everyone here because there wasn't an international field. All the guys here are amazing. And yeah, I just put my head down and tried to race it.
And we've got to talk about your time. Were you happy with your time?
Oh yeah, so it was the same time as last year, but if you look at the split, so last year I went through 10K about 40 seconds faster than this year. And you might have seen, if you were watching, it got very tactical. Like every now and then, I said to my coach, my aim was to throw in surges throughout.
Yeah.
And then the last 5K, just put my foot down, and I got a big gap. I think I put myself into a different world at one stage, but I followed the plan, and I've never done a half marathon. I think I've negative split, so just a negative split. I'm just really happy with it.
Absolutely phenomenal. And what's next for you?
I'm doing the Great North in 3 weeks, so that's the one. I came here just to see where my shape was at, see how the last 5-6K feels, and yeah, it puts me into good stead, and I'm looking forward hopefully more of international fields. And you've seen some of the times Great North, you've seen the likes of Mo Farah win it, so you know, if someone goes off, I'm going straight with them and seeing what happens.
Nice. Well, absolutely, foot to the floor, and all the best for your next endeavours.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
He speaks very well, doesn't he, Joe? And he is a name, if it's not familiar already, that will become more and more familiar. Jake Smith winning here in the big half, and a negative split. For those people not familiar with the terminology, what is a negative split?
It just means where you're going to run the second half of the race quicker, which is, you know, sometimes a tough ask because you get tired towards the end. So it is such a positive thing that he ran so quick in those final stages. That bodes well going forward for Jake Smith. He was a little bit anxious at the end as he was looking back, but like you say, quite rightly so, as Jack Rowe was putting in a great performance, running through to a PB, but brilliant performance by Jake there. So excited to see him running in future races.
Yeah, not many negative splits out on the course here. You feel without being too uncharitable, but it's not about times for these people, it's all about getting round. And oh, that sound, it always brings out some emotion, doesn't it? The steel band, the pans out on the course. And a real privilege to be able to run traffic-free over Tower Bridge, and then these runners coming into the final few metres. So let's just break away from these finishers as they come over in Greenwich. Amy is now with some of the runners who've just finished the course.
So I am with Rob, one of the Outrunners crew. Tell us what the Outrunners is and what you guys do.
We're a running crew in Hackney who also help young people get moving with running clubs and wellbeing events and a careers programme as well, help kids progress in education and also towards the careers they want.
Nice. Did you have a few of the crew down today?
Yeah, we had loads of the crew, about 30 runners, about 20 young people coming down and racing the Big Mole later as well.
Absolutely phenomenal. And I have to ask, what was your time?
I was really pleased. I got 1:30, 40. Kind of a big thanks to all the Outrunners crew who were cheering me on, and also my partner and my 3-week-old baby, Lizzie and Juliet, who came down to cheer on the last mile as well.
That is absolutely rapid. So I'm presuming not too much sleep for you last night then?
No. It was slightly disrupted, but I got out of the nighttime feed last night, so that was good.
Nice. Running on adrenaline. Where can people find out about the Outrunners crew?
Come to theoutrunners.co.uk, check us out. We run in Hackney from around Vicky Park and Hackney Wick. Donate to all of the runners who are running today as well.
Absolutely epic. Well, get involved in the Outrunners crew. Thank you so much and well done today.
Thanks a lot.
Happy smiling faces, and still they come. 10,000 plus. It's good numbers, isn't it? Hugh Brasher, we heard from him earlier on, must be absolutely delighted, he and his team, to have put on a safe and effective event today, Joe.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's just so lovely to see. The event has been such a success. It's been so great to watch, obviously, the elite runners, but seeing these runners out there today, the masses, enjoying the day. Like, look at the smiling faces and waving to the cameras as they come through. They know what this means, being back at a great event like this. It's just been absolutely brilliant, and just thoroughly enjoyed watching these great scenes out here today.
Well, we've nearly finished our coverage this morning, certainly from the commentary box. So, Joe, just a final few thoughts, a quick thought on the elite results and one on the event overall.
Yeah, obviously fantastic negative split run by Jake Smith, putting in that surge around mile 9. Charlotte Purdue, brilliant course record, 69.51, absolutely brilliant. Good run, Sam Harrison in second, and Nikki Emerson and Sam Coack, brilliant performance in the wheelchair races too. It's been absolutely brilliant, and a lot of these athletes will take this performance through to hopefully running London Marathon and competing in London Marathon later in the year. But yeah, it's been fantastic, hasn't it, Chris? I think I thoroughly enjoyed watching it all unfold today.
Lots of happy smiling faces, and who knows, lots of these people running this distance, 13.1 miles for the first time. Will that propel them to longer distances? The London Marathon, October the 3rd, in a new autumn slot, which is different, of course, for reasons we all know, to the normal April slot, but it's just 6 weeks away, and that promises to be an absolutely brilliant occasion. But happy smiling faces here. So we've had some great racing, safe, COVID secure, and we've had a course record in the women's race. Charlotte Purdue coming through, beating her own course record. A new star is born, I think, in the men's race. Jake Smith just holding on to come through with a 5-second margin in the men's race, and a great finish in the wheelchair as well. So that's pretty much it from the commentary box here in Greenwich as the runners continue to come over the line. The 4th big half has been a huge, enormous success.
You've done it. You've smashed it.
Yes, sorry. I'm distracted by the runners. Amy, how about that? That was amazing. What an event. The energy here. I mean, I'm getting lost in the energy. I feel like London's back.
London is well and truly back. You can just see the vibrant energy. There's a crowd, and we've really seen a mixture of different runners today. We did mention it at the start. We've got elite mass participation. I can tell you what, London feels well and truly back to life.
Where you interviewed them, the elite runners, I was like, We started, got to the finish line, and they had finished. They're incredibly fast.
Before we even left the start, they were coming across the finish line. We did see some phenomenal times, and so good to see Charlotte Purdue very much back in the mix and really on form looking ahead to the London Marathon.
Amy, it's great to see you as well. First time we've met today, which was awesome. And thank you so much for watching as well. You've been great company. We will see you on the next one.